This full moon is in an exact conjunction with Mars, which, as you should already be well aware, is currently going retrograde. This is not only a culmination point because it's the culmination of the lunar cycle, it's the full moon illuminating this. This is a culmination because it's the midpoint of the Mars retrograde. So we're revisiting actions that fizzled out and didn't take place that maybe we need to reinitiate. Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I'm back with another super exciting extended 2-week forecast. And this one is for December 7th all the way through to December 22nd, the entire waning phase of the current lunar cycle, beginning of course with the full moon in the sign of Gemini. And this full moon is in an exact conjunction with Mars, which, as you should already be well aware, is currently going retrograde. If you haven't already done so, make sure you check out my video on the Mars retrograde after you're finished with this forecast to get a full overview of what this means for you, because this is being activated super intensely. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss something important like this again if you haven't checked that out already. But this energy is a revisiting of intense emotions from the past that are probably tied to our connections, our communications, and information that we've received through other people, again, in past situations prior to this time period. Why is this a revisiting? Well, because Mars is in retrograde. So we're revisiting actions that fizzled out and didn't take place that maybe we need to reinitiate. We're revisiting important arguments, disputes, disagreements, because that's a Mars thing, right? Mars represents separation. It represents battles. It's the energy of war. It's the energy of opposition and dispute. And so when we have this Mars energy in retrograde, we might be revisiting old disputes, old feuds, old resentments that we've been harboring for way too long in order to hash things out once and for all. And with the moon activating this, and this being in the sign of Gemini, which is a very communicative air sign, it has to do with our ideas and the way that we transmit and share those ideas amongst ourselves, amongst our peers, with other people. It could be that we're revisiting old arguments. It's kind of like we've had this argument before. In fact, we've had it many, many, many times. Let's actually get to the core of it. Let's actually get to the root of it. And this is our emotions coming into play. So our emotions are illuminating as the moon is full in the sky and illuminating the night sky. Our emotions are illuminating something from the past that needs to be rediscovered, that needs to be brought back up to the surface. And it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be something negative like an argument or a legal battle or something like that. It could just be that there's something that fizzled out, that we let fizzle out because we lost motivation, or we were spreading ourselves too thin, because that's that Mars energy. So maybe a few months back when Mars first moved into the sign of Gemini, we started too many things all at once, which is a very Mars and Gemini thing to do. And now, because of that, something has fizzled out that was actually really important, that we were really passionate about, that we had a lot of motivation to move into. And maybe that's what we have to revisit, and our emotions are pulling us because we feel so intensely, or our instincts are showing us. Our gut instinct or our intuition is guiding us to reignite that flame, to start things anew. And so that could be a big part of this energy as well. So this Mars retrograde is going to cause us to revisit something that requires action. Mars is the planet of action, willpower, initiation, doing something, very literally, in the physical world. It's not about thinking about doing something. It's not about feeling like you should do something. It's about feeling it and then actually doing it. This Mars energy can also show us where maybe we jumped the gun and we initiated something very quickly without thinking it through on impulse. And this could be where we have to kind of clean up that mess too. Again, playing on that Gemini theme, it could be that we initiated a couple of different arguments at once or we initiated some sort of argument or something like that, and we have to kind of go back on it and retract what we did, retract what we said, apologize maybe. weird thing in this day and age. Admitting you're wrong and apologizing, that could be a thing that we might have to do. But this could also be like we started a bunch of things, like I said before, and it's not that one important thing fizzled out, it's that we created chaos. And it's like, all right, we need to kind of prune away the excess, the extraneous things that are distracting us, that are causing us to lose focus, that are causing us to feel so burnt out, because that could be a big thing with this Mars retrograde too. This is not a time, of course, to initiate new things. This should be apparent if you did watch that Mars retrograde video, or if you're a student in the Cosmic Academy of Astrology, you know that this is not a time of initiation. This is not a time to start a fight with somebody. He who initiates the fight will lose the battle. But it is a time to restart something. And so this could be a great time for that. Speaking, by the way, of the Cosmic Academy of Astrology, I have a free gift for you guys. I've been working really hard behind the scenes on a free astrology course. This is going to be a beginner's course in astrology that covers all of the planets, all of the zodiac signs. It'll help you to understand and integrate what you're learning, to reinforce your astrology foundations if you've already started studying these things. And there might even be a secret special bonus on the houses. So registration is open today. It's open right now. You can find that down in the link below. It's free for only a limited time because this is a course that should be a paid course. It was a labor of love for sure to help you guys get started with learning astrology, but it was definitely a labor. This is the type of course that most astrologers charge good money for, and I'm offering it to you for free. Classes begin January 2nd. Again, the registration is down in the description below, and if you really want to go deep into the astrology, if you want to learn how to put it all together, give readings, make predictions, do so with confidence, and have the mentorship and support of me and other graduates and students from the Academy who work as our teaching assistants to help guide you, then you can find the link for the Cosmic Academy of Astrology down below and join the waitlist. The Academy is opening only for waitlist people 2 weeks early in the month of January, and you get the best pricing, the most savings, again, only if you're on the waitlist. So check that out as well. And so kind of moving on to the astrology part of this, I want to talk about the energy of this in your specific birth chart and what to focus on and look at in your birth chart before we get into the forecast for all 12 signs. That way you can get a little bit more detail and make the most out of this forecast that I deliver to you every 2 weeks. And this is also a good way to start learning about your birth chart as well. People have been commenting that they love this portion of my videos, and so I'm going to keep doing it. And so first step is to download my free Astrology 101 PDF guide if you haven't already done so. This covers a lot of the basic significations of the signs, planets, houses, rulerships, planetary aspects, exaltations, things like that, and more. And so download that guide and then take a look at your chart. If you have any planets in the mutable signs, which you'll find in the guide are Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces, these energies that we're discussing here with the full moon activating Mars retrograde are going to impact those planets in a way that feels challenging. So look up in the guide the significations of those planets that you have in mutable signs. The second thing that you can look at if you want to go deeper is which houses are ruled by those planets that are in the mutable signs. And so an example of this would be if you have Venus in the sign of Virgo. Venus is placed in a mutable sign. Venus is the ruler of both Taurus and Libra. Again, you can find this information in the guide, but you would look at the houses that are occupied by both Taurus and Libra, and then you would want to check and see which topics are assigned to those houses. Those specific topics in your life will also be subject to a lot of conflict and a lot of challenge around the time of this full moon in particular, but really over the course of the next week or so. The next thing you want to look at is if you have any planets in the air signs. with the exception of Gemini, if you have any planets in the signs of Libra or the sign of Aquarius, then these planets and the significations of these planets listed in the PDF guide are going to be subject to positive enhancement, positive reigniting of passion, right? This is a restart, a cosmic gift that you're going to feel very intensely emotionally pulled toward in these areas with these topics. Again, you should also look at which houses are ruled by the planets that you have in those two air signs. Gemini is going to be a little bit more complicated and a little bit more challenging, but in Libra and in Aquarius. So which houses are ruled by the planet that you have in Libra or the planet that you have in Aquarius, and which topics are assigned to those houses. Those topics are going to be subject to positive enhancement, positive change, positive restarts, where you're going to be reigniting your passion in those areas of life. And so make sure you check that out holistically. And yeah, so let's get into the 2-week overview, and then I will get, of course, into the forecast for all 12 signs, what I know that you're waiting for here so patiently. But so the 2-week overview, so beyond this energy of the activation of the Mars retrograde, actually let's start with the energy of the activation of the Mars retrograde, because I'm not done with that yet. This full moon is happening on the day that Mars is in opposition with the sun. Mars retrograde is in opposition with the sun. This is not only a culmination point because it's the culmination of the lunar cycle, it's the full moon illuminating this. This is a culmination because it's the midpoint of the Mars retrograde, which again, watch the video on the Mars retrograde if you haven't done so already. It's super, super important. This only happens once every couple of years. But this culmination point is the midpoint, right? It's the time when the Mars is in opposition to the sun. It's about halfway through the Mars retrograde period. It's where everything that we've been redoing, revisiting, restarting, rehashing, the arguments and disputes maybe that we've been kind of ironing out and revisiting maybe for the final time once and for all. These patterns are coming to this culmination point right now, where it's going to be much more pressing and much more significant to focus on that energy, not just because the full moon is there. So that's important to make note of as well. It's extra significant and kind of unusual and uncommon for the full moon to occur at the same time as this. So this is special. This is important. Definitely pay close attention to what's going on around you, what's coming up, what's being thrown at you, and what feels overwhelming, because these are Mars things. But that is part of it. So on December 7th, the full moon is activating this Mars culmination point of this Mars retrograde period. So the next thing that's happening is on December 9th. So on December 9th, and this is still active during the time of the full moon, but Venus in Sagittarius is going to be squaring Jupiter in Pisces. They're in square, right? But it is a reception. So Venus is in the sign that is ruled by Jupiter, and it's making an aspect with Jupiter. So it's being received by Jupiter. And so this is considered to be a positive thing. However, Jupiter will be in a conjunction with Neptune. This is still a square. So even though this indicates luck, good fortune, and positive outcomes on an objective level, this could also indicate not false hope, but kind of having like an over amplified expectation for outcomes of things, thinking that it can be a little bit more grandiose than what it could actually end up being. In reality, good things will happen, but in your mind or kind of with your hopes and with your dreams about the things that are coming up around this time, it's not going to meet or exceed those hopes and dreams. It might fall a little bit short, but again, it's still positive, and objectively, anyone from the outside looking in will be like, wow, that's really great luck you had in this specific area where this happened. And so it's something to kind of make note of. Also, this is an indulgent energy. Anytime you have Venus and Jupiter in square, it's overindulging. This could be overindulging in escapism, in fantasy, in drugs, in alcohol over the holidays or getting close to the holidays. This could be, escapism through spirituality and spiritual bypassing. This could be escapism in a lot of different forms. It could be escapism through travel, and that could be fine. Again, these things could have positive outcomes, but just know that there's an energy of being prone to overdoing it. And that's where there could be some sort of problems. It's kind of like, too much of a good thing. Like you have a piece of cake and you're like, I'm going to eat the whole cake. That's probably not a good idea. That's probably not going to feel good. So that's what we're looking at there. Later on in the month, though, kind of leading up to the new moon in Capricorn, which we'll talk about at the end of this video, so stick around until the end if you want an overview about what's to come there for the holidays especially. But Mercury and Venus will trine the North Node and trine Uranus from the 15th through the 22nd. So this will be happening 15th, 17th will be Mercury trine North Node and then Uranus, and then on the 19th and the 22nd, Venus will trine the North Node and Uranus. This is a mitigating influence, which means that it is providing a positive outlook for the chaos and the challenging changes and pivots that we've had to make as a result of challenges with Uranus squaring Saturn and being a part of this configuration with the North Node, being a part of the eclipse configurations that we just had a few weeks back. This is where a lot of these challenges and a lot of these changes finally start to even out and start to go in a direction that makes sense, and where we can have a positive outlook for fated, karmic, destined change that's aligned with what our soul needs and wants, that's aligned with our growth and where we need to move into in the next phase of our lives, really. So this is like a positive change, but it comes about in a way that's very synchronistic. It can come through communications and connections with other people, especially because of that Mercury-Venus conjunction or connection and conjunction. It's also an energy where it could come through important messages, important information, something that you're learning, right? Something that you've been seeking in that way. It could also be connected to travel and things like that too. That's not out of the question. And so, this is a big part of what's going on here. So basically, what it boils down to is that this energy is going to bring about a change that we've known is coming, that's already been initiated or seeded, or we felt the disruption in some way, but it hasn't fully culminated, or it's been too chaotic and disorganized to culminate in the way that we kind of foresee it or would like it to go. This helps us to have an outlet to push it in the right direction when it comes to the change we want to see in our lives. And so that's what's going on over the next couple of weeks. And so let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs. We're going to be focusing really intensely on that full moon and the Mars retrograde activation, beginning of course with Aries and Aries rising. For Aries and for Aries rising, this full moon could literally be illuminating an emotionally charged situation from your past when it comes to arguments, disputes, disagreements, and conversations. It could even be some sort of dispute or some sort of issue involving paperwork, or the need to restart or redo something involving paperwork or some sort of bureaucratic process. This could also be a really great time to revisit and reignite your passion for different educational topics, for some sort of writing piece that you've been working on that maybe you've let fall by the wayside. It could be reigniting your passion for education in a certain area, or for learning something that definitely has a mental component but is also very physical in nature, because that's Mars, right? Mars in your third house could very literally be redoing or recertifying yourself to do something on the physical level in terms of exercise, like a yoga teacher training or a martial arts training or something along those lines. If you're somebody who's taught something very physical in the past, then this could be you restarting that education program, or doing something where it sort of reignites or restarts something. So maybe redoing or remarketing something or repackaging something in some way to initiate it again. This could also be an energy highlighting the need to reconnect or hash things out involving siblings or extended family members. This is not a good time for you to start or pick a fight with siblings or extended family members. This is also not a good time for you to start or pick a fight with neighbors and people in your community, even if emotionally you're feeling very charged up and you want to, because you will lose that battle, you will lose that argument. However, if these things come up externally, as they might, then this is a time where you could, potentially win your point, argue your point by doing it more passively than aggressively, not passive aggressively. Don't combine those two. But doing it in a way that's a little bit more receptive as opposed to aggressive, right? This could also be a lot of really faded energy involving travel plans that could be coming up for you around this time period. So there could be an energy around travel or around the need to restart or redo something involving travel. This could also be involving vehicles. So there could be like car trouble that you're having. This would not be the best time for you to invest in a new vehicle necessarily, but to reinvest in, mechanics of your current vehicle, but definitely get a warranty on the work that you've had done at this time. But definitely there's an emotionally charged situation involving potentially siblings, extended family members, neighbors, people in your neighborhood, in your community, information that's coming your way, or definitely it could be related to travel plans, especially short-term travel plans or travel by vehicle. That could be problematic, that could cause you to have to redo or revisit something. It could also be that you started off on too many journeys all at once, either mentally or actually, and you need to cut back on your travel plans for the next few weeks for the holidays, and that could be part of it too. And for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this full moon is highlighting an emotionally charged situation that's causing you to have to restart, redo something, or cut away the excess when it comes to your finances. So it could be that you've put your eggs in too many baskets. You have your, how do they call it? Like your hands in too many pots all at once. And you need to cut back and you need to figure out like what thing that you started in terms of a financial venture is viable and what's not viable. It could also be that because you started too many things at once, the thing that truly is viable has fizzled out and you need to restart that. Maybe you need to rebalance or redo your budget and start like sticking to it again. This could definitely be the need to revisit something and cut cords though, because we do have that Mars energy, which is the energy of separation. So if you feel like you're spread too thin financially, looking at where you can let things go and cut things out in order to focus on what matters most, in order to continue to build your wealth and initiate what is going to be more fruitful for you moving forward, this is definitely the time to work on that. So there could be something that comes up that feels like a crisis around your finances that causes you to do this, but overall, it's going to be, I think, a positive thing, especially once Mars goes direct. You're going to be like, wow, I'm glad that I stopped spending money on that. I'm glad that I stopped focusing on this. I'm glad that I focused on the things that matter most. And those things could be personal development and education based because of that Gemini energy as well. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, this full moon is happening in your sign, and so this is all eyes on you, Gemini. You are in the spotlight. This could be you feeling very charged up and very ambitious about a lot of different projects. It could also be that the culmination point of a lot of things that you started all at once it comes up all at once. So everything is culminating. You're like, oh crap, I started too many things. I can't handle all of this. Typical Gemini fashion, you're curious about a lot of things. You're excited about a lot of things. You're multi-passionate, but all of these passions are coming to a head at once. And it's like, I can't do all this. So you might find that you are physically, mentally, just overall spread too thin, and you need to focus in on what's the most important thing, or focus in on reigniting or reinitiating the most important thing. Focus on the first thing first. This could also be you feeling just charged up and angry. Definitely, if that is the case, don't pick fights with people. If they're picking fights with you, that's fine. I mean, it's not fine, it's not enjoyable, but you're not necessarily subject to being on that losing side. It's not you creating your own downfall there. But it's more likely that you're going to be the one creating your own downfall by starting fights, because you're feeling really charged up, really passionate, and very righteous with this Mars energy in your sign. You're like, I'm right. I know what I want. I know what I need. I know what we need to do together. And you could be pushing your way a little bit more forcefully. On the flip side though, if you're somebody who's typically a little bit more passive, this could give you the energy and the motivation to argue your point, or to, actually stick something out or see something through. So that could be the case as well. You're just going to be very busy, very amped up. You could be a little bit more anxious because there's so much on your plate. And so this is about looking at what's culminating, what's coming to fruition, and what you need to actually let go of. What is being revisited, so that way you can just cut it out once and for all, so you're not starting too many things and you're not having to put energy into too many things all at once. And that includes arguments. For Cancer and for Cancer rising. So for Cancer, this full moon is happening in your 12th house, which is the house of endings, losses, letting go. It's the house of hidden enemies and secret truths that are being kept beneath the surface. It's the house of gossip. It's the house of deception and lies. And so, with Mars being a malefic energy, there could be something that's being illuminated in that area. So it could be that you have been having problems with somebody, or that you've been having problems in some area time and time again, and finally it comes to light that somebody has been actively working against you. That could be the case, and that could be something that you need to address and you need to cut ties with once and for all. This could also just be feeling internally agitated and kind of burnt out, where, on a subconscious level, there's a lot going on, but physically there's not as much there. This could also be illuminating something involving 12th house institutions, which include places like hospitals. So it could be like a connection to illness, or somebody who has an illness that comes up or that is revisited around this time. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative or scary thing. It's just something that could be a theme that comes up that you need to revisit or address in some way, like a relapse of something. It could be, rehabilitation centers too. So like a relapse of something. But this could also be, revisiting the need to initiate something involving, spirituality, or a spiritual discipline, or a physical spiritual practice, because of that Mars energy. And this is also just a big culmination of repeating cycles that come over and over and over again, that cause you to feel too anxious, too amped up, too burnt out. It's like too much on your plate, and it just keeps repeating over and over, like that type of thing, where it's like you're recognizing it finally, and you're cutting ties with the past, you're cutting ties with those cycles. And that could be a part of this as well. I would say for Cancers, especially Cancer risings, your dreams will be very active. You might have a hard time sleeping. You might be tossing and turning and physically acting out your dreams. There's something to pay attention to there. Like, what is causing you to feel restless? What is coming up in your dreams or your nightmares even at this time? And what does that symbolize? What's that connected to? Because that's something where there could be a tie that you need to cut, or something that you need to revisit even. It's kind of like something fizzled out maybe, and your subconscious is telling you, you need to do this again. You need to connect with this. And so that's what's going on for Cancer. For Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leo, this energy is happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, group associations, networks of people that you surround yourself with by choice. Luckily for Leo, I mean, this is going to be trining your descendant if this is your ascendant sign. It's still going to be sextiling and trining your ascendant, sun, or moon regardless, because the sun and moon are in opposition. So it's not the worst configuration. This could just be you reigniting your passion or reinitiating something involving a group or a network or a group association. It could be that you were the leader of some sort of club and they ask you to step back in and to take over, maybe just for a time period, and you decide, hey, I'm actually quite passionate about this. Maybe I'll do it like for real. This could be you having to revisit a complicated or discordant situation with a friend or with a group of people from your past or even from your current sort of situation, but it's like an issue from the past that you're revisiting, where you need to hash it out, you need to resolve it, you need to get to the bottom of it once and for all. It's not a new battle, but an old one, and it's one that's kind of dying out and that you need to cut cords with and get rid of. This could also be, especially if you're a Leo rising, around that 16-degree mark. So really anywhere, I would say from 11 to 21 degrees, you'll be feeling this in the area of one-on-one relationships as well. And so this could be you having to like reignite your passion or redo something or relaunch something or reinitiate something with a partner. That could be a romantic partner or, you know, a business partner or a close friend, but it's in partnership with someone. And so that's what's going on for Leo. For Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgo, this full moon is happening in your 10th house, which is the house of career, public reputation, people in positions of power and authority, the legacy you leave behind for the world at large after your lifetime. All of these things are in that 10th house arena. I would say for a lot of Virgos, this could be you going head to head with somebody in a position of power and authority, and it's coming to this emotionally charged culmination point, especially if you are a Virgo rising in particular. If that's the case, don't engage, or you have to engage, but don't like initiate. Let the other person come to you. Like if it's a boss and you know that they're mad at you, let them come to you first. Don't like jump ahead of the situation. And if it is something that's been like an issue with this authority figure time and time again, this could be a revisiting of it where you're finally going to hash it out. You're finally going to resolve it once and for all. It's reached that full culmination point. This could also be an energy of you starting way too many things out in the world, way too many things with your career, especially if you're somebody who's in a position of authority or who runs your own business, because the 10th house is going to be more central to your work. And so if that is you, you might have started way too many things all at one time, and you're kind of like, all right, I initiated this project, I launched this thing, I started this campaign, I did this thing, and they're all coming to this culmination where they all need my attention all at once, and I can't do it. I spread myself too thin. So this could be you looking at delegating or cutting cords with certain things to focus in on, or to even relaunch the one thing that is going to make the most headway, that's going to make the biggest impact on the world or in your business. And this could be you having to relaunch something. It's kind of like a relaunch of something that you were really passionate about or really amped up about. It's like revisiting ambitions from your past and bringing them back into the reality of your career path, the reality of what you're putting out there into the world for your legacy, even if you're not working. And so that's what's going on for Virgo. For Libra and for Libra rising. So for Libra, this full moon energy is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of long distance travel. It's the house of foreign relationships. It's the house of higher education, religion, philosophy, your perspective on reality and your beliefs, and the way those shape your morality, your values, and your integrity. all of that is coming up for you with this full moon. A lot of different things, right? But this could be that you have to revisit a connection to a foreign country, or you might have to redo something involving travel plans. This is another sign where, you know, over the holidays, you might have planned too many different travel adventures to visit family or go do whatever. And you're having to look at that. It's like, I initiated this, and this. I thought I was going to visit like Aunt Matilda and Uncle George, and then over here I was going to go visit my grandma in this other state, and then I was going to go visit my sister-in-law over here, and you're like, I can't do all this. And so you might need to cut back. This could also be you relaunching something involving education. So it's kind of like you were taking a course in the past and you're revisiting the curriculum and actively engaging with it or using it in some way. This could be that you know something and you taught it in the past and you're having to redo that and demonstrate the material, even because it's very demonstrative in that energy with Mars being so activated. This could also be you having to deal with like conflicting philosophies, conflicting belief systems, where you're like, I thought I believed this, but then I also believe this, and I also believe this, and these are incongruent, and you have to kind of focus in on the one that's most aligned with what you truly believe, what your philosophies really are, where your heart lies. And so that could be part of it too. And so that's what's going on for Libra. For Scorpio rising. So for Scorpio, this full moon is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of debt. It's the house of joint finances, so your partner's resources. It's the house of taxes and inheritance. And it's the house of death. It's the house of rebirth. Sometimes this could bring up something that you have to revisit around a literal death, like something you have to take action on. It could be that you have to take action on redoing something with your will or with life insurance or any sort of insurance policy. It could be revisiting something involving an insurance payout. It could be revisiting something involving a loss, like an actual death, especially if you've had that happen to you recently, like in the past few months while Mars has been in the sign of Gemini, because I've actually seen that in a couple of charts. It could be that something in the area of taxes comes up for you. It's kind of like it came up for you once and you didn't address it. And now it's coming up for you again and you have to address it. It could be that something came up for you in the past involving like a debt or having to pay off a debt or take action on something involving a debt or a loan, and you let that fizzle out and fall away and it's coming back and you have to revisit it. A lot of these themes could be present for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising in particular. It could also be involving your partner's resources, where your partner is revisiting something or reigniting something that is intended to grow their finances. They're feeling ambitious toward their possessions and their money and the accumulation of resources, and that's impacting you in some way. Maybe you're doing a joint financial venture with somebody. Maybe there's an investment that you have to revisit. Maybe you invested in too many things and you have to go back and kind of look at that too. And so that's what's going on for Scorpio. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. So for Sagittarius, this is happening in your 7th house, which is the house of partnership. It's the house of relationships. This could be reigniting your passion in a current relationship. This could also be if you have initiated something with a partner or with your romantic partner or marriage partner in the past. This could be you having to revisit that and redo it, start it fresh. This could also be a culmination of a fight or an argument that's been repeating over and over and over again in an important relationship, where finally it comes back up and you're like, no, we're finishing this. We're not going to fight about this anymore. We're going to see it through to the end. We're going to get to the bottom of it and we're going to cut ties with it. If a new argument comes up, know that it's probably not going to get resolved at this time. You'll have to revisit it in a few months when we have Mars coming back to that 16-degree point, probably I think in February or March of next year. But it's something that still does need to be addressed in some way. For you in particular, Sagittarius, do not initiate some sort of legal battle. Do not initiate some sort of battle in general or negotiation, because you're not going to be on the winning end of that situation. If someone else is initiating it, then great. This could be a culmination, a highlighting of that. And I mean, it could work out for you. And this is kind of an energy where it's impacting you personally as well, because it is in opposition to your ascendant, sun, or moon. So you could just be feeling really fired up and really amped up to revisit something or redo something. It could also be that you and your partner or you and somebody else started too many things all at once, and you have to kind of cut out some stuff and focus on the thing that matters most. But for the most part, I would say, you know, you're going to be feeling a little overwhelmed. There's going to be a lot on your plate. There's going to be a lot coming up, and it's going to be coming to you from an external source, situation, or person. And you're going to have to pick and choose what you really want to focus on. It's kind of like you started all these things. It's all coming up right now. And like, what is most important to you and your partner or the person you're collaborating with on this situation? Focus on that. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this full moon has you busy. You've started too many things all at once. You have too many things on your plate on a day-to-day basis. This is going to show you which things you need to reinforce, reinitiate, which passions you need to reignite on a day-to-day basis when it comes to your routines, when it comes to your health too. This could be you revisiting something that you physically are active with involving your health, meaning an exercise routine, something that you used to actually do and stick to in the past, or maybe enjoy when it comes to movement, that you can bring back into your reality and really focus in on it. If you've started too many things to improve your health all at once, this is where you can focus in on, or you'll have to cut ties with the stuff that's excess, and you will have to focus in on the stuff that is truly making a dent, the stuff that's truly helping you feel more vital, more active. But this could literally just be like with work, especially, you've taken on way too many things for your work, for your job, for the tasks that you do, not just in your career as a whole, but especially if you're somebody who's like working for somebody else, working at a corporation, if you're employed basically, as opposed to being an employer. It's like they've asked you to do too many things, or you've taken on too many jobs and side hustles, and you're like, okay, this is all coming to a culmination point all at once. What should I be focusing on? What can I cut cords with? How is this going to look for me moving forward? That's going to be the big question. This could also highlight some sort of irritation, almost, like, I don't know how to describe it, like a like almost like an irritation or an aggravation of a pre-existing health condition. So if that is something that's applicable to you, take extra care of your health. Just make sure that you're doing all the right things at all the right times, and reduce your stress levels, you guys. Capricorns especially tend to take on a lot. They want to be responsible for all the things. They can get it all done, but should you? Is that good for your health? Is that good for your mental health? Is that good for your well-being? Juggling all of these things. Do you have space in your day-to-day life to just sit and breathe and think? If not, then this is the time where that's going to come up. It's going to feel very intense on an emotional level, that burnout, that excess, that scattered energy, that anxiety, and you're going to know what you need to focus on, and you're going to know what you need to let go of. And so that's what's going on for Capricorn. This is an energy of delegating or redelegating tasks to other people. Maybe you've taken back some tasks and you're like, or you've taken on extra tasks and you're like, I'm going to give this back to you. That could be part of this too. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this full moon, lucky Aquarius, is happening in your 5th house, which is the house of joy, fun, passion, and play. All of these things can be reignited for you at the time of this full moon energy. Aquarius rising people especially tend to be multi-passionate. You have a lot of hobbies, a lot of interests, a lot of things that you love to do. You're curious about everything. And so this is a time where a lot of those things from your past that you've been curious about, that maybe you were really excited for, and that caused you to feel really motivated, really driven, really lit up, these things are needing to be revisited. You're needing to reignite that spark. It could be that you want to go back and take that dance class. You want to go take that foreign language class. You want to learn something that you started in the past but you never followed through with because maybe you took on too many things all at once. This could also be where maybe you did take on too many things all at once and you need to refocus your energy. But this is a reignition reigniting of passion when it comes to a hobby, an interest, something that you loved back before this time period. This is also an energy of reigniting your passion in the bedroom, because this 5th house is the house of sex and sexuality. And so that could be part of this energy for you too. This could also be a revisiting of something involving children, having children, your own children. It could be an argument that you keep having with your kids over and over and over again, where you're finally like, no, we're going to sit down. We're going to figure this out once and for all. We're not arguing about this again. It could also be kind of having to restart or reinitiate something involving your children. Like maybe you started them off on a certain path, or you started to do something together with them, but it fizzled out and it never got followed through on. And now is a time where you're actually going to follow through on that. And so that's what's going on for Aquarius. For Pisces and for Pisces rising, this full moon, this activation of the Mars retrograde is happening in your 4th house, which is the house of home, family, property, and real estate. This could have you revisiting old situations involving your family, old arguments and disputes involving your family, where it's kind of like, let's just air it all out. Let's get the skeletons out of the closet and finish this once and for all. This is not a good time for you to start an argument with a family member, or with your parents, especially if that's applicable to you. It's not a good time to initiate a dispute involving your home. Like, let's say you have a contractor that didn't follow through with whatever they said they were going to do. This isn't the time to like start a lawsuit over that. This isn't the time to, pick fights in general, but especially when it comes to issues pertaining to home and family. However, this is a time where if somebody else initiates, you could be on that end of like winning, or having the person see your point. But this is a time where if you're revisiting, like you're revisiting a lawsuit, you're revisiting an issue, you're revisiting a conflict, then this is a really good time and an important time to do that. This could also be you reinitiating. I keep saying that word. It's not a word. Reinitiating, not initiating. A really important project involving your home. Mars especially is really good for using tools, sharp instruments, hammers, things like that in your actual home. So it's kind of like I actually know someone who had this happen recently, like redoing something where you did a quick fix or you didn't do a good job, and that repair just didn't stick, and you're like, all right, I'm going to go back and do this the right way, or delegate it maybe this time, or get some extra help with it so it's done properly and it's fixed once and for all. This could also be you like revisiting something involving the purchase of a home, or revisiting something involving like a rental property or something like that, where it comes up, it feels really intense, it doesn't necessarily feel good, but you finally get it resolved. Or it could be that something comes back on the market that you initiated maybe a purchase within the past and it fell through, and you're like, let's revisit this. That type of thing could be positive and could come up, but it's just that this is kind of a conflicting energy, especially when it comes to the way it's impacting you personally, Pisces, where it feels challenging. Like it can happen and it can turn out to be a good thing in the end, but it's going to be met with challenge throughout. And so just keep that in mind if that is the case for you. But that is what's going on for Pisces. The final thing I would say though is that this could be an energy where you have initiated too many things for too many family members, or too many things involving your family. Like you are going to have all the different family holiday things happening all at once, and you're going to be in charge of all of it, and it's just too much, and you're like, all right, I'm going to cancel this dinner, we're not going to do this, we're going to have dinner at that house, we're going to do this thing. Like you're like, I need to focus in on what's most important, which is the quality time that I'm going to spend with my family, and this is the best possible way to do it. And if I'm in charge of all this, if I'm doing all of this, I can't actually focus on that, right? And so that could be part of what's going on for Pisces and what you get to resolve and work through at this time. And so that is the energy for all 12 of the zodiac signs. If you're interested in what's coming up for the new moon in Capricorn, which will happen on the 23rd of December, it'll be a big energy for Christmas Eve and even on Christmas Day. This is a new moon in square with Jupiter, which will be newly moved back into the sign of Aries. So we had Jupiter in Aries already. Check out the video on this if you haven't already done so you can know what you're in for the end of December through, I believe it's going to be March of next year. Actually, no, May of next year. It's going to be May of next year, where we're going to have Jupiter moving into Taurus. But in the meantime, from now until then, Jupiter is back in the sign of Aries. It's going to move all the way through Aries. And so this is the first actual activation of Jupiter in Aries, which is a long-term transit that brings a lot of benefits, especially in areas where we feel really optimistic, enthusiastic, energized, amped up. It brings a lot of ambition. It brings a lot of excitement with Jupiter in Aries. And this new moon, though, is going to be squaring that. So it's almost like there's something that we need to initiate. That's something that we want to get started for the new year, because this is the new moon right after the winter solstice. And it's like, it's kind of cutting into our the thing that we're enthusiastic about, or it could be that we have all of these things that we want to line up and plan and prepare for in this very pragmatic way, this very Capricornian, grounded, responsible way, but we're kind of doing too much and it's overkill. We have like big grandiose expectations, but this is also just an indicator of whatever it is that you're excited and enthusiastic about. As long as you are setting the right seeds and setting the right intentions and planning it out the right way, it's likely to come to fruition, and it's likely to actually turn out positively. Even if it doesn't turn out to be this like crazy grand experience, it's going to be a positive thing, and you're going to actually be able to accomplish something, some of your goals, if not all of them, and do them to like the extent where it's positive and a good experience for you. So I really like this new moon for setting really clear, very not just clear intentions, but really grounded, really solid, really well planned out intentions that are backed by your enthusiasm for the entire year in 2023, because this is that first new moon right after the winter solstice, which is kind of the rebirth of the sun for the solar year. And it's a perfect time to set those seeds, to set those intentions, as opposed to doing it on New Year's Day, which I've talked about plenty of times, and I'll be talking about in another video later this month. And so that's what's going to be going on there. And if you really want to plan out your 2023, like by the astrology, make sure you check out my Navigating the Astrology of 2023 webinar. It's going to be happening live on December 8th in the Cosmic Community. You can join now for half off. That means you can join this webinar live for only $12.49. That is a huge steal, because not only will you join it live, but you'll get to join in on the live Q&A session for 2023 for the following week. And you'll get access to an entire library of astrology webinars that will teach you about everything from the lot of fortune and spirit to career and vocational astrology, Chiron in your birth chart, navigating different astrological placements, and so much more. There's a whole, just a bunch of stuff. So check that out. The link is down in the description below. I hope to see you there on December 8th. I hope to also see you in the Beginner's Astrology Bootcamp, which is absolutely free to you on January 2nd. And I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe to my channel and I'll see you there. Bye, everyone.